Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of season 2 of the podcast. This week, we are bringing something a little bit new and a little bit different to you. Last season, we had a few interviews, but they were all with members of the Joji Gaebal team. This season, we would like to bring some interviews to you with other members of the company, people from outside of the Joji Gaebal team, just so we can, get to know each other a little bit better across the company. So this week, we have invited Mr. Sanjay to come and join us. So thanks so much for joining us today, Sanjay.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. And it's a great delightment for me to join you here and as well as the audience.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Sanjay Kumar, and I am from the recruiting team of GSENC.
Mm-hmm.
Many of you might have seen me many times in the headquarters.
Right. So how long have you been at GS?
Just recently I joined, and I joined in April. Yes.
Okay. Well, we are so happy to have you. So I'm just going to ask Sanjay, a few questions, and we're just going to get to know him a little bit better. So let's start out with where you're from. I know you're from India, but where in India are you from?
I am from Gaya. It is a state in Bihar, and this place is very famous for Buddhism because it is the same place where Buddha attained enlightenment, and the religious philosophy of Buddha flourished in this area.
Okay, very interesting. And so what brought you to Korea in the first place?
I used to be a student of Japanese language in 2005 in India, and while going through the Japanese study, I came to know about the imperialist policies of Japan against Korea, and also the similar experiences and the hardships that India had undergone under the British rule, and also the development story and the infrastructural development of Korea, and how we can learn from Korea. These kind of things I came to know, and it infused me a great source of inspiration to study Korea also and the Korean language.
Very interesting. So you saw some similarities in Korea's history and
Yes.
India's history with colonial rule and also economic development.
Yes.
So that's very interesting. So then you're working here at GS now. So how
Yes.
did that happen? How did you come to GS?
Well, after joining Korean studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University in India, in 2009 I graduated, and on the recommendations of HRD ministry, it's called Human Resource Development Government of India ministry. I was recommended by them to study in Korea, and Korean government also supported me for pursuing masters here. I joined the master program in Korea, and after that I joined UNC, and I was working as a researcher and a coordinator in the Global Human Resource Department.
Okay.
So while working, I came to know a lot about GSENC and its recent developments, and also the accomplishment of the projects globally. So I was very familiar with GSENC's name. Yes, and what was the most amazing, it was the engagement of Indian engineers in the recent years by GSENC in the Indian subcontinent, especially the Indian subcontinent, including Bangladesh, Pakistan, Nepal. We have many engineers from that area. It's very densely populated also, and people are very passionate about engineering and constructions. So many EPC Korean companies are in that area, in that region, accomplishing many projects. But I think exclusively GSENC has come up with establishing a center called SAEC. It is called South Asia Engineering Center, and it's a great I think a method to engage engineers of that South Asian region and utilizing them, and also fostering to improve the better India-Korea relationship.
That's very interesting. So since you mentioned that, GS's role in the Indian subcontinent, as well as, around the world, we have so many employees now doing business internationally.
Yes.
Which means that, most of their work is being done in English,
Yes.
which I know a lot of our employees find very challenging, which is natural. So do you have any advice for our Korean employees who are working internationally, using English a lot? What's your advice for them, particularly when working in India or with Indians?
Well, it is a very interesting and useful question, I think so, especially for our GSENC employees. I would like to emphasize here that accent is not important. What is important is communication. So while we are engaged in a cross-cultural communication, we should be focusing on the understanding, and our major goal should be the establishment of communication. It's not about accent. What I have seen is among the Korean employees, not all of them, but some of them, they focus more on the accent. Like they want to like gauge the knowledge and the skills or the competency of an employee through these accent kind of things. Like if an Indian employee or a employee from Pakistan or Bangladesh or South Asian region or Asian region from Vietnam or like Southeast Asian nations, they have also some competency like engineering abilities and different skills and also their technical knowledge. But they may not be speaking exactly like the Americans or the British or a South African guy. But their knowledge should be utilized. Their skills should be utilized by the company and the company employees. So I think if understanding and a perspective from this view is considered, I think many things can be learned from the Asian resources as well.
Yeah, I think you made two really important points there that I totally agree with. The first point is that, we shouldn't judge a person's knowledge by their accent. Of course, speaking like an American or speaking like a British person has nothing to do with somebody's knowledge or competency. So we need to be judging people based on their skill and not by anything else like accent or skin color or anything like that, really. The second point was that we really should be focusing on communication over accent. And I know for any of our employees who have spent a significant amount of time abroad, that when you first go abroad, of course, the accents might be very difficult, but it doesn't take that long to get used to the accent. And then, of course, the most important thing is just being able to communicate well. So, if in the beginning, if you have some difficulty understanding someone's accent, you can always ask them to repeat themselves. No problem there, right? Okay. Very interesting points you made there. So, as some of you are probably aware, we have quite a few Indian engineers around the company at the moment, and I think some people are very curious about them. And I'm curious to know what kind of things surprised them when they first got here to Korea?
Well, there are around 48 employees right now in Korea. They are on deputation from GS Delhi and GS Mumbai, and they are trying to cope up with the Korean culture. Although we are in the same continent, like India and Korea, we are peninsular countries. But despite of these facts, there are cultural differences.
Of course.
So like especially in terms of food, like dietary not restrictions, but due to the cultural beliefs, the Indian foods are very different compared to Korean foods. So because of that, our employees, they are encountering many culture shock as well, and they are having some difficulties, but at the same time they are taking it as a challenge, which is very good. They are taking it in a positive manner, and they are trying to acclimatize with the Korean culture. At the same time, in terms of the corporate part and the working style, they are not very familiar with the pali style. Pali is like very fastly doing.
Right.
So many Indian employees in the beginning, they were like little afraid that how they are going to
adjust
with this pali. But now they are very much familiar and they are taking inspiration from that. Some of the employees from the SAEC, they have told me that sometimes we do need to do things fastly because there are deadlines, and to get away with this last minute hassle, it is always good to be prepared in advance, and it is a thing to be learned from Korea, and not considering it as challenge, but also but as a positive point for development, for improvement.
Right.
So I think it is a very good thing to be considered, and the Korean counterparts also, they should consider Indians for for joining hands and working
together.
Working in Korea, India, and globally.
Right, absolutely. Very glad to hear that they are adjusting well here.
Yes.
So since you mentioned, our Indian engineers working hand in hand with our Korean employees as well, I just wanted to know if there are any kind of, stereotypes or misconceptions that people might have about India that you would like to kind of correct for us.
In the last almost 11 years of my stay in Korea, I could see that there are some misconceptions, and one of them is the caste system of India.
Right. Okay.
So, in Korea, I don't know exactly what is the reason, but most of the Koreans, they have a perception like, in India, still the traditional caste system is existing. So, I would like to tell the viewers also that in India, there are castes, but those castes are only existing as an identity, and it is not the part of the legal system or the democratic system of India.
Okay.
Because India, after attaining independence in 1947, we had a constitution in 1949, and the constitution was drafted also by one of the lower caste person.
That's very interesting.
Yes. So I think while meeting Indians, I would like to suggest not to ask their castes. Also, while having some recruitment or while choosing to work or to develop some friendship, let's not bring caste into that.
Okay.
And just meet freely. They are all Indians. We are living in 21st century, and Mandela's rainbow concept.
Right.
Indians are also liking it, especially the Indian youth and our fellow engineers. We live together, we talk together, we work together, but we do not know about our castes. So if Koreans also will think like that, it will be a very big advantage, because in India there are lower castes, and they are comprising of the majority. It's like more than 80% of them. And even the higher castes as well, they also want to work for united India. Yeah. So
that's very interesting.
So I just wanted to explain it in detail. Yes.
Very interesting. I actually also did not know that there was that current distinction in India between there being the legal system where caste is not important, not recognized, and then kind of socially it's still being recognized.
Yes, and it is a crime act also.
Interesting. So that is a very important distinction, obviously. And so we also learned some valuable information that when we meet Indians, when we're working with Indians, we probably should not ask about their caste. So
yes.
A very important lesson for all of us, I think. Thank you. So lastly, I just wanted to ask you if there is anything you would like to say to our viewers as a kind of final note before we finish.
On final note, I would like to conclude with a saying that if we are together, we can achieve everything.
Okay, if we're together, we can achieve anything.
Anything,
like that.
Yes. And India and Korea, since we were like not very developed nation few decades back, India has so many things to learn from Korea, especially from their infrastructural development. And GSENC can be a bridge for India also to achieve some projects in the upcoming years, and also as an inspiration to many Indians, because with 1.3 billion people in India, we are still struggling with the infrastructural part. So GSENC, if they can help India in growing with the infrastructural developments, personally, I would be very thankful. And also the SAEC employees, they are also wishing to see GSENC involved in the upcoming projects of India and have a good image among the Indians.
Right. So let's work together. Let's learn from each other for a better future for everybody.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Sanjay, for joining us on the podcast. It was great to have you on, and thank all of you for watching this week. We will, of course, be bringing another episode to you next week, so we hope that you will join us. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye-bye.